Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the STEM Alliance Scientix and Trane Technologies webinar, where where STEM education and building a sustainable world come together. This webinar is co-organized by the STEM Alliance Scientix and Trane Technologies. My name is Luigi Prisco, and I work at European SchoolNet as a project coordinator for the STEM Alliance. Together with us today in the room, we have my colleagues, Diego Fernandez and Camila Zonta, who will be supporting us from a technical point of view. If you have any issue with your audio or connection, please do not hesitate to send us a message in the chat. This is our agenda for today. First, let me share some technical details. Microphones and cameras are turned off, but don't worry. If you have any questions for our speakers, simply type them in the chat. And in the chat, we will be sharing valuable information throughout the webinar. Links, so keep an eye on the chat. After filling the signature form, which we'll share the link now, we will give the floor to our speakers. And in this webinar, Trane Technologies experts will address important topics as food waste, food insecurity, and STEM career opportunities in order to equip educators with resources for engaging students in these crucial topics and promoting a sustainable future. Finally, at the end, you will be able to ask a question here in the chat, and we will address them at the end. Here is the signature list. You also find the link in the chat and also on the slide. You can fill in the signature list form to validate your attendance to this webinar. This is to prove that the event took place and so that we can continue to organize events like this, and also to receive a certificate of participation, which is the only way to request one. So now it is my pleasure to welcome Anne Deman and Dominic Silva, our speakers for today. Anne has been with Trane Technologies for 5 years. She leads a team comprising more than 50 HR professionals and serves as a strategic HR partners for the commercial AHV AC business in EMEA and ANC. Dominic is currently the Innovation Initiative Leaders for Trane Technologies with over a decade of experience in the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning industry. So thank you very much for being here with us, presenting and discussing today. The floor is all yours.
So I'm going to take control. Okay. Well, thank you, Luigi, for that introduction. And it's really a great pleasure for Dominique and myself to be here with you and to represent actually our company, but also to connect with all of you and support you in your journey to educate the new generations and stimulate the STEM education. Let me quickly share some story here and also why I really like to do this today with you, because I was also inspired by my teacher in mathematics when I was in my 3rd grade, 14 years old. And she made it really fun and easy to understand. And thanks to her, I got the hang of it. And I chose mathematics as my major in high school going forward. And thanks to that, could do the university studies in economics and then move on to the positions in finance and in HR where I'm today. So at the end of my high school, I really went back, or actually at the end of the university, that's when I went back to her to thank her for her inspiration and she being really the one inspiring and motivating. And I think, Dominique, you have a similar story.
I do, actually. And I've also encouraged all of you. I see we have people from joining all over the world. We'd love to hear from you. Who or what inspired you to choose this career path? I can say my first decision into STEM was actually my parents, because when I was 10 years old, my mother said, "You are going to be a doctor." And I didn't really feel like I had a choice in the matter. So in high school, I chose the science and biology area. But it was one teacher that I had in 10th grade, my physics teacher, who actually inspired me to not be scared and not go with something I didn't want, such as medicine. This teacher had this great ability to make things simple, entertaining. She was really good at telling stories. Most importantly, she brought a lot of experiments and videos and different kinds of content to the classroom to make engaging. So thanks to Professor Ana Marques, I did my studies in Portugal. I went on to become an engineer, and that gives me the pleasure to talk to you today about many things, and among them food waste and how a company like ours can help address it. So, and tell us a little bit more about the company, maybe.
Yes, so we will indeed talk a little bit about our company, and then we go more into the subject, which I hope will be inspiring you as well, like what Dominique was sharing with her teacher, bringing some stories and experiments into the classroom, because that's in the end what we would like you to take with you at the end of this session. So let me quickly introduce Trane Technologies. So we are actually a global climate innovator. That's how we call ourselves, having two strategic brands. One is in the commercial buildings HVAC, which stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, where we have our Trane strategic brand. And then on the other hand, we have our Thermo King brand, and that brand is being used for our refrigerated transport solutions. And you might have seen the Thermo King brand on top of the trucks and trailers that are driving around with food, with fresh food, and with frozen food. So, but the Trane you might maybe not have seen yet, because these big machines are on top of the building or sometimes in the cellar of the buildings, making it doing the comfort cooling in the buildings, and also doing process cooling in industries. So we have about 38 manufacturing locations, as you can see, 37,000 employees worldwide, and our total sales is around 16 billion annually and growing as we speak. So why are we a climate innovator, and why are we saying that we want to change, where we can change the world's sustainability? We are in the space of heating and cooling of buildings, as you can see, that are actually responsible for 15% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the world. At the same time as well, trying to reduce the food loss and waste through our refrigerated transport, and trying to minimize this 10% greenhouse gas emissions that are coming from food that is landing ending up in the landfill and creating those gases. So in total, we are influencing the 25% and trying to reduce that through our solutions, making them more efficient and making sure that we reduce the greenhouse gas emissions over time. Today, we want to focus on the food loss and waste, because we also believe that we can bring that a bit closer to the lives of your students, and then giving you some opportunities with videos and with experiments on see how students can also impact that, not only companies, but also them with their own families. Now, with this, we want to get the absurdity out of what we see in the world, that on the one hand, we have 1.3 billion people that are experiencing food insecurity globally. And on the other hand, this whole food loss and waste costs $750 billion, which is a lot of money. And at the same time, creating those 10% greenhouse gas emissions into the world. Because we see that over 30% of the food that is being produced is actually going wasted or is being lost. So on the one hand, we have hunger and food insecurity, and on the other hand, we have this loss. So we call that an absurdity in the world. And Dominique will talk a little bit more about the whole food chain, the supply chain in food, and where we can play a role in reducing this loss and waste.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Anne. And actually, a curious fact, and maybe some of you in the room with us might know this, and if you know the answer, please shout it out in the chat. But if we were to take the global greenhouse gas emissions, which are emitted just from the food that we waste and lose every single day, if we turned that into a country, do you know where this country would be in the ranking in terms of top global polluters? Number 3. So if food waste and loss was a country, it would be the 3rd largest polluter in the world, behind only countries like China and the United States. And this is something which is very staggering. And when we start to make these comparisons, and if you're able to bring that sense to the classroom as well, it really helps students and teachers and everyone ask the question of, what can I do? How can I help solve this problem? So for today, and at least the way we always approach it in Trane Technologies is really, well, let's break it down, because 30% emissions or 30% of food being lost sounds like a really, really big problem. But where does this loss actually occur? So we'll take the example of strawberries. I love strawberry jam sandwiches. How do you feel about strawberry jam sandwiches, Anne?
Oh, I love it.
I haven't met a single person who does not love strawberry jam sandwiches. And that action that we take of taking a bit of strawberry jam and putting it on a sandwich, packing it for our kids, sending it to lunch, or, it's so banal, but where did that strawberry jam come from? Well, it had to start with a strawberry, and that strawberry had to be grown somewhere. So really, when we think about the food supply chain, and especially when we think about fresh fruits and vegetables, which is really what we as a business focus on, it all starts at the grower. So once the strawberry is grown as an example, the next step is usually someone somewhere has to transport it to a processor or a manufacturer. Sometimes this is on the same place. Sometimes it can be in a completely different country or city. At this place, we're going to have a processor, which is basically going to turn our strawberry into jam and then put it in a bottle. Once it's in a bottle, it's going to go to a distributor. So this could look something like a warehouse. From this warehouse, it has to be sold, right? So it's typically going to go to a supermarket until eventually Anne goes shopping one day, sees the strawberry jam bottle that she wants on the counter, takes it, brings it home, opens it, and makes a strawberry jam sandwich. So that's just an example for the strawberry. But in fact, when you think about it, there are so many things that can go wrong, from the moment we're planting a seed to grow the strawberry, all the way to making that strawberry jam sandwich. So for example, there can be weather patterns, right, that disrupt the production side. At the processor, we've seen this a lot in our business, a lot of waste that occurs either due to human error or trimming or even overproduction. At the distributor, we still have a lot of warehouses, even in Europe, which have no kind of temperature control. And if the temperature isn't right, the likelihood that you are going to destroy that package and no longer be able to sell it grows. And so a lot of distributors throw food away before they can even sell it. Even at the retailer, right? And when you go to the retailer and you're going to pick up your strawberry jam, you're going to look at the date, right? And if that date is tomorrow, you're not going to buy it. And that leaves our retailers with a problem, because due to product expiration and labels, they're going to be throwing a lot of stuff away. And then even at your home, and probably your kid's going to change their mind about strawberry jam sandwiches at some point, and you end up not using all of that strawberry jam you bought, and boom, it goes into the bin. So there's so many ways that food can get lost or wasted throughout the process. And, some of it is due to individual action. And that's one of the things we want to help you bring into your classrooms to sensibilize children and their families to help address. But a lot of it actually happens before it even reaches your home. And thankfully, for a company like Trane Technologies, we play a little bit everywhere in this space. So we, for example, help support the business of indoor agriculture. So this is really, how can we help cities grow vegetables and fruits, be it strawberries, even lettuce, spinach, I've seen tomatoes, inside cities, right? In these indoor farms, making it easier to transport and much more sustainable to grow. We have, as Anne mentioned before, we have equipment that tries to ensure that the process is as reliable and as stable as you can possibly have to avoid any sort of damage during production. We have units that help control the temperature in warehouses. And perhaps the thing you are most likely to see on the street, especially if you're ever stuck in traffic and you look to your side and you see a refrigerator truck, trailer, or van, pay some special attention to the little refrigerated unit system that sits on there. There's a very high probability that will be one of our products, our Thermo King, that really helps to keep your strawberries, tomatoes, and also vaccines and all other kinds of produce always at the right temperature so that it reaches you just as it should at the right quality. So it's really exciting. And I think we have a lot of great, interesting examples on one of our platforms, which we will share with you a little bit later today. I just want to put here a little teaser, and at the end of this presentation, we'll show you one of the videos that are available there that you are very welcome to use, to bring into your classroom and use as a form of discussion with your students. Another thing that we at Trane Technologies like to think about when we think about food loss and waste is that it can look very, very different depending on where you are in the world. So this is a chart, pretty famous actually, if you do a lot of research on this topic. It comes from the Food and Agriculture Organization by the United Nations. And if you look at all the bars, it's basically all the different colors indicate where does loss occur? Is it at consumption? So is it because, you know, Anne accidentally threw away her strawberry jam? Sorry, I keep picking on you, Anne. Yeah. You're next to me, so you're the best example I can use. Do these losses occur at the agricultural level? So I'd love to hear from you in the chat. And I know we're tough on time, so I'm only going to give you 10 seconds. But if you compare, for example, Europe and South and Southeast Asia, so that would include countries like India, what are the key differences that you see? So where is food loss and waste more likely to occur, for example, in India than it would in Europe? Any guesses? And if we don't get quick answers in the chat, and I'm gonna put the pressure on you. Oh, yeah. So are you ready? All right. Perfect. Thank you, Blessings. Someone is suggesting distribution. So that is correct, actually. Yes, very well noted. So in Europe in particular, distribution is actually a little bit higher. Yeah. But really the biggest difference you will see is in processing and storing. So this is really due to, in more developing regions and countries, there's a lack of a well-developed cold chain. Obviously, there's economical reasons for this. Aglaya, really good, an infrastructural reason for this as well. But really, a lot of food gets lost before it even reaches the consumer. And this is really a great opportunity for companies like ours to try to resolve. But again, cold chain looks very, very different in India from Europe. And as an example, last year, we decided to actually understand a little bit better how food is being sold in a country like India. And one of the things that we learned from not only talking to people there, but through many of our engineers that we have living and working in India as well, is that most of the food is actually sold through street vendors. So here, this is a real story. It's a real person. Her name is Anuradha. She is a single mother. Unfortunately, her husband passed away due to injury. She has 2 children. So she's the sole provider of that family. She makes a living out of selling coriander, spinach, and mint. And because Anuradha is a woman, she has more difficulties in accessing capital finance, and therefore she's forced to sell her vegetables on the street, as you see there. She puts her mint into these gummy bags. She uses water from a tap, which is very, very dirty, to spray the water on top of the vegetables to try to keep them fresh. But actually what we were seeing is that Anuradha every day was losing 30 to 40% of her produce. And this isn't something that she harvests, it's something that she has to buy. So that is translating into complete loss of income for Anuradha. And again, it's a problem we wanted to solve for. So we developed a solution, and I won't give it away because I have a short video to share with you that explains a little bit better the story of vendors like Anuradha and the solution that we proposed to her. But this was essentially a passive cooling cart, a very sustainable solution which uses no electricity, no refrigerant, and allows us to basically use the power of the sun to cool, which sounds strange, but we'll explain in the video how that happens. But by passively cooling the box, Anuradha was able to actually store her vegetables for longer. So even what she was unable to sell in one day, she was able to keep and sell the next day instead of throwing it away. And this directed in a direct growth in her income of about 20%. So that's really money in her pocket to feed her family. So if all goes well, and we totally trust technology, right? Don't we, Anne? I'm gonna play the video and pray. It's a short video, but I hope you enjoy it.
The simultaneous existence of food waste, loss and hunger is a major issue, and this is one of the first problems that we are tackling as part of Operation Possible.
In order to understand how the food loss is happening at the street vendors level, it's very important to understand a day in life of a street vendors.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತರಕಾರಿ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ನನಗೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು 10 kg ತಂತಾರೆ, 8 kg ಮಾರ್ತಾರೆ, 2 kg ಬಿಸಾಕ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದರಾಗೆ ಲಾಭ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ.
ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಗೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಕೊಲ್ತೋಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ. ಅದು ಮಳೆ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಬಿಸಿಲು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದೂ ಒಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಬಾಧೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ.
Once we understood that this issue is there, we were able to develop a hypothesis of how we can tackle this problem.
If we could able to increase the shelf life of these vegetables for a couple of more days, we can certainly reduce the loss to a greater extent. And eventually that could increase the income for the street vendors as well.
To solve that problem for them, we come up with a solution that can be implemented in the field.
Passive radiative cooling technology is an interesting thing. Any surface which faces sky gets heated up due to the sun incidence. And night time, all these surfaces start radiating the heat back into the deep space in a particular wavelength. We found a technology wherein this passive radiative cooling can be done during daytime as well.
What we found is that there is a film like aluminium foil. Once we paste it on the canopy, the temperature below is less than the ambient. And we are designing this cart such that we can get an optimum temperature for the fruits and vegetables below this canopy.
Now the last piece was, build some prototype and test out there in the field. So we tested for a pilot study in a place called Kolar.
And in Kolar also, we are having a lot of enthusiastic participation from the local government officials.
It directly impacts on their earnings. Earnings make a livelihood, livelihood makes good value inside to the society.
In order to bind all these things together, we are also thinking how this solution can be commercialized and implemented in a large scale.
ಗಾಡಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೂಪರ್ ಐತಿ. ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಎದ್ಬಿಸೋ ಐಟಮ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆದ ಲಾಸ್ ದುಡ್ಡು ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನು ಲಾಭ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ.
Namaste. All right, that was a very short story. If you would like to see a longer form with a little bit more detail added, you are more than welcome to hop onto our YouTube channel or just Google Trane Technologies cooling cart and you'll get there. And I noticed we have at least one person joining us from Lagos in Nigeria. So happy to say that we're actually currently working on a pilot project, which is bringing the cooling cart now as a cooling box for street vendors in Nigeria that mostly use wheelbarrows to transport their food from one place to another. So this is just an example, right? It's not a Thermo King refrigeration unit, but it's another way, another technology that we can use to help reduce food waste. And we really need more students, more teachers excited about solving for this problem, so that we can come up with more innovations like this, because there's never going to be one solution or one technology that solves the problem.
No.
We need everyone looking at it. So, Anne, why don't you talk to us a little bit about job profiles that go behind solving a big problem like this?
Yeah, before I go into that, I mean, I want to point out that also see how your students one day can move into the industry and also work on these innovative solutions. What we always, it's our CEO said that before, and now we are saying it all, is that, I mean, a company can change an industry, and an industry can change the world. So once you are part of that company that is changing the world, it makes a whole difference. And everyone plays a role in helping our company to reduce these global greenhouse gas emissions. It can start with engineering. It can start in any of these positions, in fact. But when we start with engineering, we go into then testing, where there's a product management that is looking at different products. Our sales force, of course, helping to sell that into the field. We have the whole support of finance, HR, making sure we have the right people, communication and marketing. IT, of course, our systems need to be up and running correctly. And then the whole global supply chain with our manufacturing, our production, and logistics to help bringing those solutions to where they should be. So this is a nice chart. You can also use that in the class just to stimulate your students to choose some of these positions. Everyone is having their contribution to these solutions.
Yeah, and if I could just add something, and because, when I do webinars like this, or I go into classrooms, the question I most get, especially from students, is how can I have a career in sustainability?
Right.
How can I work in sustainability, right? And I think we need, it's almost like they have this perception that sustainability is a role. And granted, there are sustainability managers and sustainability analysts, but between us and the almost 100 teachers in the room, it's not exactly the most exciting part, because it's a lot of data analytics. I mean, engineers play a huge role in designing sustainability products. Human resources. So I noticed, Anne, that you left out your own role, right? But you play such an important part in actually scouting and developing this talent, right? Because not everybody joins the company because, I want to work for a sustainability company. So there's a lot of a mindset in problem solving that we have to create as well. So my advice to students, and hopefully teachers can help spread this message a little bit, is be open-minded, be curious, and think more about the big problems you'd like to solve for, whether that's climate, which is climate control, contributing to 25% of greenhouse gas emissions, whether that's air pollution, right? Think about what you're passionate about, and look for companies who are actually actively trying to solve for that, right? So rather than looking for the type of role, look for the company, and companies with a real sustainability mindset will help you really discover new paths in your career. So sorry for hijacking your part there.
No worries.
But I really wanted to share that perspective because I get that question all the time.
Yeah, I mean, these are just 3 examples of our employees where they play different roles. And we have Ernel, who's a HVAC, so heating, ventilation, air conditioning technician, every day working on our machines. And where you see the description of his role is like helping customers prevent food loss and spoilage every day by troubleshooting and preventive maintenance, for example. We have our director of innovation, Jason, looking into the future and see where we can further play a role. And this type of interesting ideas, like in the different regions. We just saw the India solution, which is completely different from in other regions, and looking how emerging technologies can help here. And technologies are changing every day, so it keeps on changing.
It's not a boring job, that's for sure.
No. And then at the other side, we have Anna, a product development engineer, looking at how we develop these new emerging technologies into products that can really solve our customers' problems. So we're also looking at more female talents as well. As you can see, trying to bring diversity into our workforce as well. So anyone can contribute to your point, Dominique.
For sure.
And also you will find those profiles and these people on our Discovery Education website. They are there if you want to give some examples to your students of what is possible in terms of roles. Then you can go there and download that.
And I just want to emphasize, these are real people with real jobs. Jason Tilgman is actually on my team. I had dinner with him last week. And so, you know, don't expect very fancy videos with higher talent. These are real people just talking about what they do in their day-to-day. And I remember when I was a student, that was always the most exciting part to me, to actually hear from people who were working in the space.
Absolutely.
What a day in the life looks like, because it just gives you such more of a practical idea.
It becomes concrete. Yeah.
Exactly. And you should totally ask them, do I really have to study math? Because that's the other most frequently asked question in school. And they'll all tell you yes.
It definitely helps.
There's a million ways you're going to be using it. So, and final question to you, right? Hopefully we've been able to inspire some of our teachers, and, you know, this is an interesting and very challenging problem to bring into the classroom. Yes. So how can they bring it into the classroom and make it more real for their students?
Right. So coming back to our Discovery Education website, you'll find a lot more there that you can use within the classroom, but also that students can use with their families. And we wanted to focus indeed in light of the subject that we are on this food waste. There is a video there that we would be able to share as well.
Yes.
That will inspire you on how to bring this into the classroom.
For me, learning how to work the land means liberty and freedom, because there are so many people who die across the world from hunger.
Atalia is gardening with a purpose.
And if I can teach them how to grow their own food, I can save so many lives. We can save so many lives together.
She's had a passion for the land since she was a little girl, when she attended a rally of the National Black Farmers Association with her mom.
Working with my mom taught me how important it is to fight for the right to be able to buy, have, and grow your own fresh food, because it's a part of our human right to be able to live healthy and to be able to eat healthy.
Atalia is one of the students who work in the Sustainability Village at Johnson C. Smith University.
The village is a self-sustaining food system, and we grow lettuce, cabbage, zucchini, cilantro, parsley, and so much more.
More than 12,000 feet of growing space.
Well, the food goes to various places. We sell at different farmers markets in our area. We also donate to some churches and shelters, and we also like to give some to our JCSU students and faculty.
The garden helps ensure everyone in the community has access to healthy food. Food insecurity impacts about 30% of the world's population.
Hunger and food insecurity is frustrating to me. There's no reason why people should be dying of hunger when billions of pounds of food are being thrown away across the world.
According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, each person in the U.S. wastes approximately 1 pound of food a day, or up to 290 pounds a year. That's only taking into account the food we throw out. Some food goes bad while traveling thousands of miles by air, sea, and land to destinations all over the world, like here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I enjoy cooking thoroughly because I like to nourish my body and I want to live a long life.
Preeti Subramanian is responsible for launching new products for Trane Technologies, including their cooling and refrigeration products.
Food waste is a big problem, but the good news is it is a controllable problem because we have data to tell us where it is happening and what we can do to prevent it or minimize the impact on our planet.
Food loss and waste has a bigger impact on our planet than you might realize. Along with the emissions generated by the production, transportation, and handling of food, wasted food often ends up in landfills, where it releases methane gas. Methane gas is one of the most potent greenhouse gases and a huge contributor to climate change. Trane Technologies is making a difference. Whether it's testing alternative fuels or pioneering new refrigeration abilities, their innovation is helping make sure food can travel long distances safely and efficiently.
Temperature control is very important because it extends the life of produce that we consume.
Not cold enough and food can spoil. Too cold and the top layers can freeze and ruin.
Trane Technologies is heavily investing in our digital space, which means we have data available to show us the temperature at which the food is transported.
Smart technology makes it possible to adjust temperature remotely, track every piece of food on the truck, and respond quickly to protect the load in unexpected conditions.
We have a large food distributor that has been an ardent user of our tracking systems, and they have prevented food loss over 10,000 times in a year. And this is just one customer. We have many, many such customers just in America.
Testing the equipment to make sure it can survive extreme road conditions and environmental changes is also key to success.
And what that does is help us catch issues. It's easier to fix it in the lab early on by collaboration between mechanical and electrical engineers than doing it retrospectively in the field.
See, a more sustainable future requires all of us humans to do our part.
A few things you can do at home is to look into your fridge and make a list instead of buying a cart full of food that you may not need. And the other thing is always freeze the excess or give it to a friendly neighbor. Every little thing that you do will make an impact.
I'm hopeful. I believe that my generation has more open eyes to see how we are connected and are a part of this world just as much as the nature and the land around us.
What will you do to make a difference?
Okay. All right. Right. So based on this video that you can bring into your classroom, you can ask the same question. What can you do, or what can we do indeed to reduce this food waste? You can talk about this composting and composting at home, how to do that. I mean, there's plenty of videos also on YouTube about how to make a compost pile in your garden. But there could be also students without a garden, and you can also ask different other ways of reducing this waste, and have them be creative on and think about that. There are some documents on this Discovery education platform that you can use with some questions that are kind of pre-made for you, that you can download to be used in a classroom. And then there is some document that you can download as well to be used at home. So students can use them at home and see what they can do there. So we hope that these materials, we can't show them here now live, but please go on this website, and we hope that these materials can help you to make it a great experience together with the videos and the inspiration. I hope you can make some experiments and make it a nice, thoughtful, problem-solving activity. So one day they can become the innovators of tomorrow, and it starts at home and it starts in the class.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And Luigi, you can take back control. I think I accidentally took control over you.
Thank you very much, Anne and Dominic. This was very interesting. I think not only for me, of course, but for all the participants. While we wait for some questions from the teacher, I would like to remark that your contribution was very interesting, also because I think that it's important to note. How a company that at the end of the day works is a manufacturer in the field of air conditioning and heating and ventilation has an impact in this big in sustainability and food loss and food waste, and because I think that this is not an immediate connection that people do, and including the teachers we have today. So it's important to raise awareness in this sense, that STEM, in order to promote STEM education and encourage students to pursue STEM career, we also need to, let's say, escape the narrative that it's only, as you were saying, Dominique, it's only math, numbers, and this difficult, let's say, subjects and domain that sometimes can make not very STEM-minded students like pull back from the area, from the field. So I think this is something that teachers will bring back in class tomorrow. So how to promote and encourage STEM through not properly STEM, let's say, domains.
Yeah, it's resolving really concrete problems that are happening in the world, and I'm sure in data, someone was mentioning the data is stunning. When you put this data out, it's like, wow, yes, it is a real big problem.
I think if I can add to that, and drawing a little bit on my experience, why, I explained I came into the STEM path a little bit because I had to, but I didn't stay because my parents told me. I stayed because I had very inspiring teachers along my journey, starting from high school all the way to university, who were really good at, we were already talking about sustainability at the time and global warming, right? But those teachers who had the ability to explain to me why this is happening and how we can resolve it, that's what inspired me to actually stay in engineering and then look for companies like Trane Technologies that are working, on solutions like this. So, I think we need to be a little bit careful, and that's why I love the exercises and activities we have on Discovery Education, because it's not just that it's all gloom and, your generation is gone and we're all going to die. It's really helping to explain the how did we get here, and then empowering, and I'm not just going to say the young generation, but let's say the young generation and their parents, because we all need to get involved in this. In like, okay, well, I can't solve for the 30% of food loss, but I can maybe solve for the 10% of food that I'm wasting because I throw it out of my fridge every day. So, making it actionable. And I think really, tapping into the curiosity and the open-mindedness of our students is really important to keep them engaged and keep them inspired about continuing their STEM journey and not giving up when it gets hard, because there is going to be calculus, there is going to be algebra, you are going to cry. I know I cried a lot in engineering school, but that motivation that teachers gave me to say, if you keep going, you can actually have a strong impact. That's what helped me get through every exam and every bad class and every occasional bad teacher, right? Because we get teachers who are less inspired than others. So that would be my appeal, just from a personal experience. And thank you so much, Luigi, for sharing your perspective as well.
Yeah.
And also, one other thing that the presentation showed regarding the video that we shared, it's not only about food waste and food loss, but it's also empowering rural communities and female leaderships, as the story that we saw. So that's also another thing that it top up all the good that there is behind this project and what your company does, and also the importance of especially because one important topic, of course, nowadays is women in STEM, how to encourage a more female presence in the STEM field. So that story was very significant, especially coming from I believe it was I don't remember the country exactly, but from Africa. So yeah, that was very interesting. And coming from this, I would like to ask, like, what do you think it's the best way, and also like what will you suggest to would be the best way of communities, in the sense schools and parents, to collaborate with industries and the private sectors to promote STEM education, of course, in one sense, and specifically also in this case sustainability and everything we discussed about. Where do you see the point of contact in this area?
Yeah, on the one hand, we are working together with universities on building some of these solutions. But for example, 2 weeks ago, we had in France, in our factory, we invited 2 classes of young ladies between 12 and 14 years old. They came with their teachers to our site, and we did some STEM workshops with them, which were in light of sustainability. They were really nice. Some was related to coding, some was related to more biology, and then we showed them our factory, what we were doing. And I must say that by the end of the day, they were really very excited, and just to see how indeed that's where companies and schools can come together. And the teachers were asking if we could do this more on a regular basis, and even in other countries, not only in France. So yeah, it's indeed, I agree with you, Luigi. It's also our responsibility as a company to work with schools and universities in different ways.
And maybe another example that I can give, a project that we ran, and it's, it was just came from a collaboration, a discussion with another school, but we had a professor, I believe he was teaching physics, who was really interested in this whole food loss, and he wanted to get his students more involved. So he actually created a project. He brought us in to do a presentation very similar to this one, and then he divided his class into teams. And the teams actually had to do research in their own campus, their own school, to identify where food was being lost or wasted, and then come up with solutions that they would then pitch, right, to the school directors in order to implement them. So I thought that was really cool, because, I mean, you can save the world, but if you don't even clean up your own home, or in this case, your own school, right, it's just such a great learning playground. And we can assure you from our experience, there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to food waste in schools as well. And this might be something easier for students and teachers to relate to. So this maybe answers a question I see in the chat from Aglaya Mantanza. Sorry if I mispronounced your name there. She's asking if we participate in educational projects. So certainly, depending a bit on the location and the theme, we've got several models and ways that we've partnered with schools in the past all over the world, really. So if you have an idea in mind, I would really just encourage you to reach out to.
Yeah, there's someone here reaching out to ask to connect with STEM teachers in Nigeria to do a webinar for them.
Of course, and then I can bring pictures of our cooling box in Lagos, right? So yeah, that would be really, really cool. As I said, we're always open. Sometimes it's harder for us as a company, as a corporation, to find these opportunities. So we rely quite a bit on schools reaching out to us with a need, and then we work directly with teachers to fulfill that need. So yeah, please feel free to reach out. I hope I'm not over speaking, Anne.
No,
I know you're very busy, but not that I have a lot of free time. But yeah, we would love to participate.
And there are several people that want to do this. So
yeah. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're all calling you. No one's calling me. Let's keep it that way. Just kidding.
I also wanted to add to Blessing that the recording of this webinar, of course, will be published on the STEM Alliance website. So waiting for Dominique Anne to organize another webinar for Nigeria, you can always share the recording of this webinar with your colleagues.
Yes.
Going for another question, more job profile, let's say related. What you basically already kind of explained it a bit, but what do you think are the best for the job of the future, the job that you foreseen it will be the most that will be the most important, because we know that the job landscape, especially in the last years, change very fast. And usually what happens is that teachers are not equipped to teach the new skills to their young students, for many different reasons. So what skills do you think will be the most important for your area, of course, in the future, that teachers should focus on, and how can they best promote this?
I have my thoughts, but I'll let you start, Anne.
Well, if you ask me, what we are looking for, let's say it like that, is of course sometimes a minimum technical knowledge depending on the position. But what we are looking for are really people that love problem solving and that are curious. Because when you're curious, you like to learn. And actually, we are living in an era where constant learning is necessary, because the changes are happening so fast that you have to be curious to keep up with them or to learn new things. And then having this problem-solving mindset, which comes from STEM education, when you do mathematics and so forth, you learn how to resolve problems. And we can, in the companies, have also our own methodologies that we can help. So for me, it's more people that are curious, that want to learn, have the right attitudes. They will go far because they will adapt, and they will adapt to new positions, because positions are changing as well. And the other thing that I see happening fast-paced is the whole AI, the usage of AI in companies, where it's all about how you manage your data and what do you do with the data, and learn from data. And this is, again, it's this analytical mindset that becomes important at that moment in time. But I will let Dominique to add to this.
I love it that you said generative AI. So this morning I was drinking my coffee and reading some articles, and obviously everybody's talking about generative AI, and I read a very alarming stat that as it is today, 20% of jobs that exist are already being eliminated by generative AI and AI in general. And I think what was interesting about this article is they say, well, companies shouldn't be looking at replacing skills. They should be looking at how do we use these skills to do things that are less interesting and productive and actually reskill people to be doing tasks which are above. Anyway, very, very particular. But to answer very precisely your question, Luigi, so something that I know, I mean, I graduated, I'm going to give away a bit my age here, but it was 12 years ago now, right? I graduated, and I noticed a huge difference between me graduating and the folks coming out of university today. One of those is an over-reliance on these tools and softwares that spit out the result to us without really understanding whether or not that result makes sense, right? So I would say as a teacher, and this links to what Anne said around problem solving, don't shy away of explaining the basics, right? What is heat transfer? What is thermodynamics? Why does something get hot? Why does something get cool, right? Why does a ball bounce? What is the difference between potential energy and kinetic energy? These are all things which to us are really, really basic now, but well, not to me, it was very, very basic in university, but it was that really basic understanding of how things work which gave me the ability and the confidence to solve problems when I didn't have the tools and the answer in front of me. So this is how I link it back to, and the hands-on, the experiments, they're really just going back to basics and simple things, so that when we come up with another problem, right? Today we're talking about food waste. Tomorrow we can talk about air pollution and the fact that 9 out of 10 people in the world are breathing unhealthy air. I can't go into ChatGPT and say, give me the answer for that. But, you know, my sort of ability to go back to basics to, okay, well, what is air pollution? How does that get created? Let me think back to, you know, the root causes. That stems from, I feel, my education and my teachers who always said no calculators in the classroom, which today is like, what, right? But it was really like, learn to think for yourself, develop that curiosity, that open-mindedness, and that wanting to understand how things work so that we feel empowered to solve problems when the tools aren't there. And to finish, there are numerous studies that show that there is at least one job that will never be replaced by generative AI. So if your students are interested in STEM, but they're also very interested in job security, I can assure you, be an HVAC technician, you have a job for life, and you will probably be a lot better paid than I am. So yeah, that's the other thing. I have a lot of young people in my family that are turning to me and saying, should I go to IT? Do I need to understand, like, you know, be the coder? And I'm like, you don't want to be the coder. You want to be the person who has the skills that nobody else had because they all went into IT, right? So yeah, HVAC technician, we need you.
Yeah, we need lots of them.
Amazing. Thank you very much. This was very informative for our for the teachers and the educators here. I think we are going to the closing remarks. So I just wanted to take another minute of your time to talk about the current and upcoming activities that we are organizing as the STEM Alliance and opportunities for teachers. So here is a competition where also on the topic of sustainability and waste management, actually, but not specifically with food, but with well, actually every waste product you can find. So if you want to participate in this competition and win the amazing prizes as the Winbook, for example, laptops, just check out the link there and send us your project that you developed with your classroom. And you will be maybe the lucky winners. And then for the upcoming activities, on the November 30th, we will host the application of data logging esports organized with Vernier Science Education. We will have as guest, I hope that some of you knows him, is former football player Petr Cech, and yeah, we will explore the integration of sensor technologies, machine learning algorithms, and real-time data analytics in sports and in athletics and so on. So register here for the event in chat or the link that you see on the slide. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Dominique. It was a pleasure being your host tonight. Many thanks for your contribution. It was interesting, and I think the teachers enjoyed it much. So good night, everyone, and to the next event. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.